Test 1, 2. Hey folks, how's it going? It's Monday. We're doing a little bit of game dev today. Hope you've all had a good weekend. Greetings! Greetings, Jeffrey. How are you? Good to see you. It's a bit of a warm one again, but I have two fans on me. And I think the smart filter is making sure you folks can't hear it, which is good. I'm good, glad to hear. Glad to hear. Let's minimize that. There, we don't need that in there. Interesting. Yeah, so just do a little bit of game dev stuff today. I'm thinking just doing a like a little NPC controller, just to sort of give this this rock golem give it a bit of a personality. So it's hot over there. Yeah, it's like 30 plus degrees. Panda, hey Cobbler, how's it going? Good day to you. Hope you're well. Yeah, it started off quite a reasonable temperature day, but it's got hotter and hotter. And it's strangely the hottest temperature was like 4 o'clock. And it just seems to hold temperature into the night, which isn't very comfortable, but we shall survive. Speaking of getting comfortable, make sure we've got everything where I need it to be. What's that there? Do I need to click there? What's that? Okay, so I need to check on that. Alright, so the emotes say they sell the best emotes. Yeah, that's the dinosaur. Still got a few things to improve on here. Ah, okay. Now, I started looking at vertical streaming last week and didn't quite set it up fully. Oh, how'd you muted this whole time? All this time? Oh no. Twitch loading instantly on my Mac is still something that impresses me. I'm still happy with new Mac. Awesome. A new computer is always good. Check the update for new update of folder color. I have not actually. The house over there, it's 33. It's about 32, 33 here. So it was about 27, 28 this morning. But it's got hotter throughout the day. But yeah, I need to. I should be able to check it now, actually. Where's Windows 11 for all these kind of things? Yeah, it's a bit of a horrible weather. Can't wait for the winter. Yeah, so when it's middle of summer, you can't wait for winter. When it's middle of winter, can't wait for summer. I'm a fan of spring and autumn. It's a nice temperature. Playing Destroy All Humans. Nice. I always wanted to play that. I think I do have a copy of the first one at the very least. Or maybe even the second one. Probably the first one. Somewhere on PC. Hate summer. Yeah, I like a lot of things about summer, but definitely not the heat. Got to work now watching RuPaul's Drag Race. Awesome. Never can't wait for summer. That's fair. I look forward to summer because of what it opens up till. Like, the possibilities of summer is good. The temperature, not so much. Like, if you just knock it back a few degrees, I'd be happy. But certainly not comfortable with the temperature. I'm going to switch over to the Unity screen, and we'll do some coding. You want to see the very big thing between my legs? Is it grey and bold? Yeah, that's quite a large model. That is. Nope. Okay. No, very surprised. Muscly and hairy. Oh no. Yeah. Quite impressed with the scale of that model. I'll send anyway. Okay. Yeah, as I say, today we're gonna be looking at giving this thing some life. Ah. There's a good doggo. That is quite a lump. Yes, same. Didn't expect it either. Oh. No, you certainly both very good gift givers. Very evenly matched. Smaller diorama Destroy All Humans figure. It's also cool. Oh yes. Like the whole set of stuff is really cool. Oh, I'm gonna have a look at the code here. We're gonna need to do some logic here. So last week I was kind of contemplating how he kind of make the golem walk. So it needs to move forward. So the moving forward thing needs to happen when the animation of walking happens. Otherwise it's just kind of walking on the spot. The attacking, the scanning, the assembling, disassembling, all this happens stationary. So any of these other animations doesn't need any world space modification. Nothing doing to the model otherwise. But this we need to kind of do something else with. So I'm gonna have to rebuild this section here. This was only really for testing. I should really kind of throw it out to another kind of separate functions, I suppose, because the updates, because the update runs every frame, so we don't want to be checking constantly every frame. So how are we going to do this? We can think of this, if we break this out into the individual things, like it needs to decide that it wants to attack. So the attack needs to be, so we've got walking. Let's make all the separate functions. We've got walking, attack. Let's make a private here. Private void attacking 01. Yeah. Attacking 02. So we've got walking, attacking 1, attacking 2. Let's do a scan. There is an attacking 3, thank you, Copilot, but private void scanning and private void assembling, private void disassembling. What is scanning? Scanning is kind of the investigation, I suppose. So it kind of just, it stands there and it investigates its environment. So can it determine there's a something in its vicinity? Nice. So I suppose in some ways it's kind of been an alert. But I associate an alert status as it's kind of something has already got its attention, where scanning is looking for something to grab the attention. I suppose alert could be a Boolean status to say, well, something has grabbed its attention, so it's going to go effectively in patrol mode. It's going to walk a little bit, it's going to scan maybe. It's going to walk in another direction, it's going to scan. If it can't find something within a set kind of pattern, then it'll probably go back to its preferred spawn location, I suppose. And then scan once more, then maybe disassemble into a pile of rocks so it can kind of go into a slumber again. So I've got to work that kind of logic out. So what I'm going to do is put all of these animated triggers into their own functions. So this means I can put other logic in here associated with that. So scanning, for instance, because I was thinking about this earlier today, the scanning, it depends if I want to give this like a cone of vision. Like when it's scanning, like, do I ever do a directional cone where try and sync up where its head is looking to where the cone is pointing, or do I just do a blanket if it's the animation for scanning is playing, it opens up a wider field of awareness, I suppose, like a 360 awareness. Anything with that is the realism, like it's if you sneak up behind it and it's scanning, how does it know that you're there if it's not looking that direction? But at the same time, it's a giant rock sort of creature. It has no eyes. So anything's possible. So I've not determined whether I want it to have a cone of vision or a general aggro alert range. But we'll think of that as we go. I could do one and then the other. The aggro range, like the 360 range around it, will be easier because I just kind of set up a, like, if something is in this circle while it's scanning, then go to attack mode and start moving towards the target and attack it basically. But I can put that logic into each of these things here. And so this if-else tree here is only really for testing. So Private Void is the character range. Yeah, so well, in the sense of radius. Well, in the context of the code, Private Void is just kind of like a function run by just a character. But the that should be referring to specifically Private Void scanning as a function. But the scanning function will kind of have a either a cone or a radius. I've not decided. I'd like to go with a cone, like, which means you can introduce an element of stealth. Like, if it has a cone, you could effectively avoid the cone. Whereas if you've got a radius, then you have to take a wide, like a wide berth around the thing completely. Yeah, 180-degree cone, yeah. So it doesn't actually have eyes, so it's not going to be too narrow on the fort, but its awareness of its surroundings would have some kind of limit, I would have thought. So that's kind of where the scanning comes in. This is kind of, it's kind of moving around. It's trying to see if there's something in its vicinity, but it never looks behind it. Like, it kind of stands still. It kind of looks to the left and it kind of looks to the right, and so scanning around, and then it will make a decision based on what it finds. Like, it might walk to another area and do another scan, or it might go, well, there's nothing here, I'm just gonna chill out. Could sense the ground because he made from it. This is true. This is a good point. So it could be if you're walking near it, like if it's the idea being, I want this to be slightly stealthier kind of monster, because to the player it could be just a pile of rocks on the side of the road until you run past it, and the vibrations, as you say, will wake it up. It kind of assembles into its kind of creature form, and at that point, if the player has already passed it, you might immediately go, well, I'm sure I sense something, and go into scanning, look around. If it is immediately notices the player, it can then sort of go into attack status and then move towards the player and then try and take a swing at them. I've not put much thought into a ranged attack yet. Strong but dumb, yes. So it is literally as dumb as a rock. There's nothing mouse about it. It is just a pile of rocks with some kind of sentience to it. So basically, you do not want to be hit by this thing, because you will be effectively having a large rock smashed into you. But because it's slow and it's not too intelligent, you can outwit it, you can outmaneuver it. But if you're stupid enough to kind of stand still, you're going to get hit. So that's kind of like a nice easy thing for the player to dance around. Hitting his rock with your rock. Yeah. But yeah, the player's going to have certain elemental advantages. So I suppose if you kind of hit it with a load of water, it's going to sort of not be able to function as well, because it's the rocks are going to be slippier, maybe a bit slower. And things like that, kind of like. But yeah, the player's going to have more ranged attacks, whereas this thing's going to be purely melee. Water is a good idea for a weak point. Yeah. So the whole point being that the player will have access over time to different elemental magics that will allow them to tackle certain things easier. Now, it's not to say you couldn't tackle it normally, but certainly it's going to be a longer slog unless you have something that's going to give you an advantage. So it's just trying to hit it with a general kind of magic burst. Might kind of, at most it might kind of knock it very slightly, but all you're really doing is pushing at a rock. It's not going to cause it any harm. It's not going to really damage it if you just kind of shove it slightly, which is going to be your default kind of magic ability. Is just a kind of like a burst of energy, just buff, which to anything small would be quite startling or stunning. Certainly not going to cause a lot of damage, but yeah, anything small having a burst of energy thrown at it, it's not going to take it too well. But this will probably last being having energy thrown at it. So this could be an interesting one for the player to kind of encounter, because it's not going to be too dangerous as long as you're not stupid. They're certainly not going to be Dark Souls level of tackling. I'd say none of the creatures I'm thinking of doing are going to be too hard to kind of work around. You just need to know what you're doing with them. It's not going to be sort of get good to actually survive. It's more going to be, well, this is going to be a lot easier if you know what you're doing. So I think most of this doesn't really need much additional logic to it. So like assembling, disassembling. If it's assembling, it's going from a dormant state and assembling the rocks into its creature form. If it's disassembling, it's going to be going into a dormant state and then kind of forming back into its pile of rocks. So with this is probably a status of I suppose I can apply a status amongst these two, like, okay, is it sleeping or dormant, I suppose. And if dormant would be true if it's in disassembled, or dormant would be false if it is assembling. So I could do with that status, because it can't attack if it is disassembled. Like, if it's disassembled, it can't do any of the following above it. Like, it needs to go through this process first, become a bipedal creature, and then it can do any of the following up there, including disassembling again. So that'll be a good check. So let's give a... I'll keep these up here for now. I will separate them off because they might be useful if I need to check individually, but I might replace these booleans with like a status, what do they call it? I keep forgetting the name. I don't use them very often. But there's you can have it's basically one variable that has multiple values that it could apply to it. I want to say D word. I'm not sure if it's D word. But you basically have like I suppose like that would work quite happily with the dormant stage as well. But it's basically, okay, what is the status right now? But I think dormant would be good by itself. Any other gifts from family, etc. for birthday, by the way? I've had a few gifts. So I had money off my parents to buy some PC parts. So the PC is nearly complete. Unfortunately, the RAM was faulty, so I'm sending that back to get replaced. My brother bought me the cooling unit to go into it. It was a AIO cooling unit, which is basically the fans and the water pump all built in to cool the processor. So that's pretty cool. Nix and Jack got me a Switch 2, which is pretty awesome. So I've been playing on the Switch 2. Is that about it, I should say? Yeah. Oh, and Nick's got me a case for the Switch 2 as well. So I've got a case to put it in. It's a nice Turtle Beach case. Nothing too fancy looks-wise, but it's a nice, well-designed case. It's got like a felt strip there. So yeah, not a large quantity of gifts, but some expensive ones, which I'm very, very grateful about. Very nice, yeah. So once my my computer's fully, actually I can send some pictures in my Discord of what the computer looks like so far for my new computer. So I took some photos as we were building it over the weekend, and it looks nice. It looks very nice. But so unfortunately, one of the RAM sticks is faulty. So that's a bit sad. But by the end of this week, I should have a fully functioning new computer. And so it's just a graphics card I'll need to get. So I want to keep this current machine probably for DJ streaming. So I'll move that over to. I'll move this one over to that area over there, so I can kind of use it for DJ streaming. Because there's not a lot involved with DJ streaming. It's literally grab the screen, grab the audio, send it to Twitch and YouTube. not a lot. Doesn't need to play games, doesn't need to do anything fancy. Whereas my new one will be my big beast machine that'll do everything else I need. Plus this one would be like a networked storage. So I'll put on all my files, all my movies, all my music will stay on here, and I'll just access it through the network. So I don't have to install any extra hard drives. So I would like to keep the new build very clean. Now, I think it's called a D. I'm just going to do a quick Google. So I think it's a D word. So C#D. So D word is a C++ thing. Well, am I thinking of the wrong thing? Is D word just a number pointer? No, it's not D word, is it? Another dictionary. Is it delegate switch records list? Custom type? Is it a custom type? The enumerator. Name sets of integral constants such as days, weeks. I think it's a enumerator. Enum. That's it. It's a. Does C# have enums? Enumerator types. So I think an enum would be. I'm not sure it's the best way of doing it, but I think an enum would be good for a status. So enum followed by the name brackets. Okay, so let's do an enum. Enum. So Copilot is giving me those suggestions. We'll tweak that though. So it's not really the animation state, I suppose. And it's the because these are just basically things that will be happening. On the animation state, let's call it and just keep it as state, I suppose. So idle, walking, attacking, scanning, rather than assembling, deassembling. Awake, I suppose. I suppose awake really should be. So it's either idle, awake, walking, attacking, or scanning. I could move these in logic order as well. So Idle, awake, scanning. Scanning, walking, attacking. So it's those different states. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 different states that this will have. So we go down to here. So we can either set the state, which then triggers this, or we can have it as part of the state. Let's go. Yeah. So we need to have a. Actually, need to make a. By default we go equals state idle. So by default it's idle. So when it's walking, current state is equal to state.walking, and then attacking that's also attacking, that's scanning, it's not awake here, it is actually idle. So if it's assembling, it's now awake. If it's deassembling, it becomes idle. If it's scanning, it becomes scanning. If it's attacking 1 or 2, it's become attacking. And if it's walking, it becomes walking. So we know we can check what the current state is to find out which of these things it's doing. And that kind of does away with the, is it attacking, is it walking, is it disassembling? So we don't actually need any of those then. And we'll do away with this whole tree. We don't need that anymore either, because that is all the old animation code. No, we don't need that because that's the old animation code again. So we're cleaning things up now. So we've got an animator. We've defined a new enum called state. We've then defined an enum state as current state and set it to idle. Now, as I said, we could have it based on the state, or the state is kind of just more, it's I think it needs to have a other logic, and then the state is there for tracking it, because it can go, well, it can't attack if it's idle. It needs to be at least awake. So any check to do any of the following would be is not idle, effectively. It does mean as well that if I go That's why I can put that if statement into all of these just to be safe as well. So if current state is equal to stay.walking, we then want it to actually walk. I'm just going to put this into here. So this will basically cover ourselves in case for some reason the animator's not there. So we cover ourselves there. So you can see how very quickly these little functions kind of fill up with some logic. So current state is walking. We then need to make it move forward. So this is where we need to determine what walk. So it's whether the direction it's facing. Now what is that one, if I can remember? I suppose we need our current position, don't we? So let's go vector 2. It's going to be a vector 3. Let's go for vector 3. Vector 3 movement direction, movement speed, yeah, that'll be okay if we were actually a player controller here. We'll continue with this force that the AI has though, so it's the direction we need to work out, because we're not taking from the player input here. Let's do a quick Google here, because I think I kind of remember what I need to do here. Transform forward. I think that's the one. Velocity equals transform forward times speed. We're using a rigid body. I suppose it needs to be a rigid body, wouldn't it? Rigid body. Your mesh collider. I suppose this needs a collider as well, doesn't it? We'll go back up to the top here. So we've got the rigid body plate in there. Right, speed. Transform forward times speed. Do that instead. Please use rigid body dot linear velocity instead. Okay. Linear velocity. Linear. So rigid body dot velocity is obsolete. Please use rigid body dot linear velocity. Okay, let's type that in. So okay, so it's highlighting it red because Copilot is saying it's wrong, but the actual compiler is saying it's right. Fun things. So I need those two. So speed we'll put as 3. And state, we make this public for now. We'll do that and see how this looks on the editor. Okay, we can change the state here. Awesome. That was what I was hoping to see. Of course, you guys can't see it on OBS. There's a list here I can pick from. It says idle, awake, scanning, walking, attacking. So I can change the state here. Right, so, oh, interesting. I changed the state to walking manually. Will it just start moving? Let's find out. Let's go to scene so we can actually see it. Okay, state is walking. No errors. Hey there, this X Nexus, how's it going? British. Welcome in. Good to see you. Hope you're having a good Monday. So what do we not do? Let's put some debug logs. Got FR, so I'm good. Ah, fraud refund from bank. Oh, Nice. I'm sorry to hear that you were subjected to fraud in the first place, but I'm glad that you got it resolved. Yeah, banks are getting better at that thing, thankfully. But even though it was your money to begin with, it still feels like a bit of a bonus. Oh yeah, we want to debug log current state. So we'll do this, see it actually doing it. UK Bank doing its job and giving me my money back. Indeed. There's nothing worse than being subjected to fraud and it's completely gone. Thankfully, touch wood, I've not been subjected to that kind of money loss. I've put faith in things before which fell through. But I haven't lost anywhere near as much money as some people I know. So I'm very, very thankful for that. Yeah, we want to give this a run and see what we get. So it should say idle on repeat. Yeah, idle, idle, idle. We change that to walking. It says walking. Okay, so that bit's doing its thing. Thieves tried to charge me over £1,000. Ooh. Yeah, that's not good. I'm glad they caught it. And so they are getting better again. Well, this activity does not seem normal for your kind of account. And they sometimes kind of phone you up and go, well, is this really you? And go, yeah. You go, okay, it's fair enough. But it's better they do that than to let us think through. Okie dokie. So we probably missed something off. Might be something to do with the collide or the rigid body I need to look at. I had to report it myself, and after talking for 16 hours or so, only then they counted as fraud. Ugh. Yeah, I was hoping they would have picked it up. But sorry you have to deal with that. That's why they really didn't want to give you that money back then. But I know there's a clause to say, well, if you willingly sent the money elsewhere, whether it was you or not, then you go, well, all procedures were followed, so bad luck. Lucky thing is I'm poor as fuck. Yeah, that's the thing these days. So fraudsters kind of having a less of a pool to kind of take from. Unfortunately, it's they go for the older people with savings. Because they know, firstly, they're not quite on the ball, and secondly, they have more money than a younger person. Typically, not necessarily the case, but. Okay, let's see. So this should now start telling me it's walking. Yep, okay, but it's not physically doing something. So I'm gonna have to change this code here because something about that is not actually giving me anything. Just that they got lucky and guessed my card number that was expiring this month. But hey, I get a fresh card. Yeah, sometimes you have no idea how these people get in. Like, with all the security these days, how on earth is it still possible for things like this to happen? Rotation. You have to do rotation. That's the thing. So walking forwards. So rotation probably. You'd have to stand still. I might have to do an animation for rotation, I suppose. Yeah, we'll come to that one there. Target position minus transform position. That's target direction. Angle between, angle transform forwards. That would be useful. I need to have a look at that as well then. So why does this linear velocity not work? The linear velocity vector of the rigid body represents the rate of change of rigid body position. Maybe that needs to be a higher number. If it was a compromised app, my bank would have alerted about new login. None of my emails or phone got any alerts about anything. And there was a digital payout using my digital card, so that means nothing on my end was compromised, but it was either lucky guess or some random place that I may have bought something years ago. Ooh, that's kind of concerning though, isn't it? So there was a breach somewhere. It would have to be in like a third-party service. I reckon that would have had some kind of data breach. But then most transactions, like payment transactions, are through third parties. Like any retailer would use a third party, so they don't see the transfer process. They just get the money. I checked all places where I used my card. Steam and all that, and none of them seem to have any recent data breaches. I suppose that's probably another reason why the bank was probably a bit hesitant to go, well, it would have to be you that's done it, but clearly it wasn't. Yeah, it gives you some kind of comfort, even if it's annoying that you know where it happened. But if you don't know where it happened at all, you go, well, could it happen again? Am I still compromised? Never even heard of that company until that morning. Okay, let's... any form of movement going on? Doesn't look like it. I'm seeing nothing. Okay, so we know it's hitting this if statement. So, transform.forward. Normalized vector representing the blue axis of the transforming world space. So that is... It should be moving at least in some direction. Maybe I need to break it out of this and see if it makes a difference. Because that doesn't really have anything going on. The linear velocity vector of the rigid body represents the rate of change of the rigid body position. The rigid body is getting that rigid body. Angular velocity, linear velocity. So velocity is the rate of change. So that should be moving it forward. Target. I suppose it would have a target, but let's give it a target now. Public vector 3 target. And that public as well for now. We can always clean it up later on. So the vector 3 will be its target, and set that as vector 3 0. So target direction equals target opposition minus transformed opposition. The angle between vector 3 dot angle transformed dot forward, comma target direction. Okay, so rather than see the time speed. We've got a rigid body, a mesh collider. So I can turn off the mesh collider. Take gravity off as well. In theory, it should just kind of get pushed. This looks the construct enemy in Tears of the Kingdom. Ah, I've not played Tears of the Kingdom, but I know roughly what you're on about. Yeah. Going for a similar kind of idea generally as Tears of the Kingdom. Well, one of the ideas, like there's a few. So an amalgamation of a few different things I've seen and experienced in video games. Okay, so where is idle? Make it walk. So forward is Y, which is up, which I suppose makes sense. Because of the unfortunate angle of the model, which I still need to fix at some point. But it should at the very least move upwards. It should be moving in a direction. Okay, so the speed in this case is 30. So the velocity should be 30 because it's 1 times 30 on the Y direction. So why doesn't linear direction do something? Or linear velocity. Let's have a quick check on the forums. So units measured in world units meters per second. Access components directly, read or write individual components like linear velocity.x. So I can apply a velocity to a particular direction just by going .x and then give it a value. But I suppose this transform forward applies the value. So I could change this. Let's do this. Let's go m_speed and then apply that to the Tx. No, because it's got not like that. I think that's fine. Apart from cannot modify the value, return value of linear velocity because it's not a variable. Oh, so I can read it? Well, it says I can directly read or write it. Dog walk time, okie dokie. See you shortly. Properties to clearly separate linear from angular. There we go. Somebody mentioned that linear velocity is not working. Let's see what it says in the form here. Ah, so rigid body is kinematic. Let's give that a go. Do I set that actually in the property of the thing itself? Okay, so it's happy with that. That is kinematic there, cool. Let's try this. So we're not using gravity, but we are saying that it's kinematic, which means it does not have physics applied to it. Setting angular velocity of kinematic body is not supported. So you can't set linear or angular. Oh, that forum post is completely useless then. I forget about the angular velocity now anyway. Okay, see if there's any other forum posts. And see what these other things say. Is this only for Rigid Body 2D? Is this where I'm going wrong? I like this post here. Teaching assistant for game dev coding. Replying to somebody saying how to yell at a AI assistant to get over telling me the wrong thing, and use it anyway. And the teacher says, "Well, this is why we don't wholly rely on AI assistants. We read the documentation," which is the old school way of doing stuff. But let's it's interesting. It's still showing velocity as part of version 6. Let's put linear velocity into the documentation, see what it comes up with. Linear velocity vector of the rigid body represents the rate of change of rigid body position. In most cases, you should not modify the velocity directly, as this can result in unrealistic behavior. Use add force instead. Do not set the linear velocity of an object every physics step. This will lead to unrealistic physics simulation. A typical usage where you would change the velocity is when jumping in a first-person shooter, because you want the immediate change in the velocity. Okay, let's try and follow this rather than transform forward. So this will make it hopefully move it in a direction. So new vector free. Why has he got lossy Y in there? Let's go m _ speed there. You don't need a time speed. We can bring the target in for the later stage. See if this makes it move. Waiting for time. We're another 30 minutes. I don't want to push myself too much. Interesting. Okay. Dot log. Current velocity. Let's try that. So this should tell me the current velocity of it. So the velocity is 0 in all directions, which is what I'd expect. Go walking. It has now got a velocity of 30 in the Y, so it should be going up. It's not moving anywhere. So it has a velocity, but the velocity is not applying. So what am I missing here then? I might end up having to watch a short tutorial on just making an object move. So I can change its, change the transform. I can basically say, well, apply this transform to it. But velocity is a bit more realistic. But everything I've done in the past, I've basically taken something and told it to change its value over time. Whereas velocity just keeps adding to the value. But a very similar effect, but otherwise I'll be grabbing, like the way I've done it in the past is grab its current transform and add to the number and overwrite the transform. So I'm basically moving it manually, which is how I've done it stuff in the past. Which can lead to a bit of a jankiness, like 'cause I'll be moving it, like literally teleporting it forward by a fraction each time. Whereas velocity just means it moves from one point to the other, as opposed to teleport. If that makes sense. Just it physically moves through space, which makes for a smoother visual. So velocity is definitely what I need. I could use force. Force. It's not force, is it? It's push. Back from dog walk. Welcome back. We've not gone anywhere. So rigid body. What can I do with a rigid body? Rigid body. The rigid body. Add force. That's what I was thinking. Because rigid body dot add force is what I'm using in Revolt Overthrow to throw the rocks. I am literally telling Unity to push the rock in a direction. So it's kind of the same as having a Jedi behind something that's going boof and force pushing. Which is fine for things that you're moving around, but not when the thing itself is under its own power. So add force, transform. Okay. Linear velocity, Unity 3D. In 3D, linear velocity, formula velocity is a rigid body property that represents the rate of change of the rigid body's position in the world, units per second. It is a vector free containing x, y, and z speed components. Through modifying it directly, it can override forces like gravity. Typically you use that for jumping. You want to apply an upwards velocity and then let kind of gravity take over and bring you back down again. I wouldn't have thought it would be so hard to make something move forward. Go sit in an air-conditioned room. Don't blame you. Let's have a quick watch of this video.
Adding a rigid body component will put the player under the control of Unity's physics engine, allowing it to react to collisions and forces. Let's press play to try this out. It still looks the same at the moment, but the player is now being pulled down by gravity and colliding with the platform. To demonstrate this, we'll select the platform in the hierarchy. Then we'll go to the inspector. We can see it has a box collider component. This is what tells Unity how to collide with this object. If we click this checkbox to disable it, we can see the player now falls through as it has nothing to collide with. Now that we're using a rigid body, we need to make some changes to our script.
This would be a good thing to test them. So in theory, the ground has a collider. Golem has gravity. So in theory, if I hit play, it should just fall. Now tell me that the physics engine is working. Well, it has a velocity which is ever increasing, but nothing is changing. So what is holding it in place? Something overriding its position. Turn the animator off. Ah, okay. I think the animator's overriding its movements and its positioning. It always animates. Let's turn that off. Animate physics. Anyway, let's turn gravity back on and turn the collider back on. If anything, it might just fall in its face. It's better here. Nice. Surprised you didn't like the Slipknot snapback the best. There's some pretty cool stuff there. Like, everything looked cool. But yeah, I like gaming stuff more than I like music. The ground has a mesh collider. That has a rigid body. Maybe the golem needs to be up a little bit. It's not already through the ground. The ground, does that need to have a rigid body as well? I don't think it does. Let's try. Rigid body is kinematic, use gravity. Why is this still falling through the ground? Yeah, well, that can go for a box collider, I suppose. Okay, well, let's stop it from falling to the ground. Awesome, okay. Hey, there we go, okay. Making some progress. We need to fix its which way's forward and which way's backwards and all this, but Right, so it's a walking mode. Okay, wrong direction. So exit stage left. It's moving a hell of a lot quicker than I was planning for it to move. Let's make that a 1. Okay, so now we've got this working. I wonder if I can go back to what I was doing before then. How far will this jump back? Okay, we'll try that. Playing an Alien games make me remember Abe's Odyssey. Ever played that? Yeah. I loved the original Abe's Odyssey on the PlayStation 1. Same. Awesome. The Bellamy. Okay. It was hard. It was a hard game, especially when they get brutally murdered. Love taking control of the guards and yeah, killing them. Okay, the code now works. The model is what's broken though. What if I can actually do it from the Basically, you need to work out how to make sure it exports. But at the moment, it's exporting with the model defaulting like this, laying face down. But when I import it, it automatically applies a minus 90 degree to get standing back up again. But unfortunately means its facing direction is coming from the top of its head. So it's saying forward is from its head this way and not from the chest that way. So in Unity, telling it to go forward doesn't actually make it move the way you'd expect it to. What's the time I'm looking at? A couple more minutes. I'm probably going to have to open Blender to sort out some of this issues, so I'm going to do that next time. Because I need to work out what's gone wrong. At the moment, it just kind of shoots off. Which is great if you have something that has a rocket ability. However, this doesn't have a rocket ability. It's supposed to just move forwards. But we made progress. So we need to change. So at the moment, forward isn't the direction I expect it to be. I suppose I could substitute that for... If I did that, put over here and did this. Went new vector free I went 0,0,1 did that. Zoom out a bit. Go walking. You can see it's basically just been launched. Let's just keep going. Feel like a 0.2. Yeah, we'll come back to that next Monday. There's a whole other thought process going on. So I think the animations are in world space, which adds a bit of complication. So I might have to put the rigid body on EMT. So you'll then have to get the rigid body of its parent and not of itself. And then it could operate in world space then. I could try that. Put into there. Does it have linear dampening? I suppose that stopped it from flying off too much. But it has a rigid body to it. I'll put a 0.1 dampening. Uh, 0.5 angular because we don't want it to start spinning. And remove the rigid body from here. What would be the next character you build for this? I would like to finish the player character. Like I got so far in modelling the clothes on the player character, and then it got so tedious that I thought, okay, you know what, I'm just gonna make something easy first, and then we'll come back to it. So I would like to go back to the player character, make the mage. Then at least I can have the mage interacting with the golem then. And then I've got two things that kind of work off each other. But after that, I would like to go back to those little rock things. Because I seem to have lost... I made it and I lost all the animations, which was annoying. So I'm going to have to go back to that file, redo the animations, and then export it into Unity and see if I can do the same thing as what I'm doing here. But I know Blender did something weird, and I opened up the file and there's there's animations there, but they were blank. So somehow I lost the keyframes in the animation. I don't know, like the naming changed and I lost the keyframes, so something weird happened. It sucks, yeah. The same thing kind of happened with this though. I lost the attack 2 animation. So I've only got attack 1. So attack 1 is swinging both arms. Attack 2 is when it brings its fists up and then slams down. I've lost attack 2. It's in version 7 of the model, like file version 7. I'm on file version 12 now, and version 8 didn't have the animation, and I just didn't bother checking the animations since then because I was working on the texturing. So because I sort of focused on the texturing so much, when I finally went to look at the animation, oh, where's that gone? I've lost one of the animations. So it's something I'm doing in Blender which makes it hard to keep the animations. So it's a good job I'm making multiple copies, like saving this as a new version number periodically, because it means if something happens I can go back a version. But it's been so many versions between 7 and 12 just to get the texturing right, and I've tried to carry the animation from version 7 through to 12 and I can't. It just doesn't want to attach the process to each other. Maybe there's another way I need to do it, but it's there in version 7, but I just can't make it work with this version. But there's a way. It's not all lost, but it's there compared to the little rock creature, the cute little rock creature. I've completely lost the animations for that one. But it wasn't too bad. The animations were only like roll forward and backwards and then spin forward. So yeah, it wasn't anything complicated compared to like this, where it's moving arms and legs and heads and all this. But it still sucks that I did all that work on stream and it's gone. But at least I can go back to the videos and watch what I did for reference. So that's something, streaming this stuff. So let's have a quick check that. So we want to get the parent gaming object. So I won't be able to get the rigid body from here. So I want to get the so go game object, game object, parent equals transform parent dot game object and parent dot get component game rigid body. Let's try that. Might error. You shall find out. So the parent has a rigid body, the model just has a collider, which is what the rocks in Revolt Overthrow works like that. So the actual parent has, I think that's a collider as well. I think the parent has a collider and a rigid body, whereas the child is just what gives it its cool look. So let's see if this works. Let's change this to walking. Whoosh. Goodbye. So that heads off that way. So let's turn the animator back on. And then change this to walking. Cool. Now let's so we now need something that's going to trigger this walking thing. Could bring back the public Boolean make walk is false. If don't want any of that. Maybe actually. If so I shouldn't have to change this now, it should change by itself. Let's save this. Tick the box. Oh, might have if I actually hit play first. Hit play. need to make them even slower. There's 0.2. Let's go 0.05. Too many 0 points in there. Let's make a quick script for the camera to follow the my behavior script. Follow cam. Go vector free. Public. Public transform target. Okay, so on update, aim object dot transform position equals target position plus offset. Cool. So in theory, the camera should now follow the golem. Right, let's hit go. We'll see this do its thing, and then we'll wrap the stream up. Let's click on the golem, tick the box, go. It's running off into the horizon. And then the animation stops because it's not designed to loop. Cool, it's doing a thing. I'm quite happy with that. So I shall save and come out of that. Still needs to be a bit slower. Well, a lot slower. Needs to be a lot slower. Well, I'm quite happy with that progress. So I still need to work out the logic on how it applies these things, but I've got a walking process in place now. I need to work out the optimal walking speed, and then yeah, just kind of write some logic as to how it decides to walk and what limitations it has. So it can't walk into a wall, for instance.
Epic.
So it needs to work all those kind of things out. Thank you for the stream. It's epic as always, even when lurking. Thank you, Lisa. Glad you enjoyed it while lurking. I wasn't going to stream tonight because it was warm and I was tired, but I wanted to try and work some things out with this. and glad I did. Anyway, I'm going to get some rest now. Hope you folks do too. Stay cool in this heat. And see you Wednesday. Have a great rest of your week. Yes, you too, Lisa. I'll see you on Wednesday. We'll be doing Trine 5 if everyone's up for that. Carry on that awesome game. So we shall see you all Wednesday. So until then, have a good week. And I'll see you then. Have a good night. Night.